Well, good morning and welcome back to Cityline. We are live for the first time in about 2.5 years. We're back in the studio and back with having some of Tacoma's best of the best on the comfy couch. Before I get into our show, I would like to thank all of the producers here at TV Tacoma for shifting and moving and helping us continue to have Cityline from my kitchen table for the past 2.5 years. I have the best team, so a big thank you to all of them. We have a great show ahead of us. Later on in the hour, we'll be talking with the Kareem Candy World Orchestra, and he's going to play us out. He's got some great news about some of the clubs here locally he will be playing in, and also some classes for some of those budding musicians you might have in your home. Chris will be here from Tacoma Little Theater to talk about their newest main stage production. And then I have Tawana Nobles. She is the president and CEO, as you know, of Tacoma Urban League, and she is going to be here talking about some upcoming events that you want to put on your calendar. And speaking of calendars, my first guest, this woman never sleeps. She is a 24-hour-a-day superhero for those who, basically need help in terms of helping their lives move on in terms of food, education, and all the things that make it work. I'm talking about our beloved president and CEO of the United Way of Pierce County, Donna Ponepito. Welcome back.
Oh, it's good to be back. Good to see you in person.
I know. Oh my goodness. It's so good to see you as well. I have to tell you, you look so much better on the comfy couch than you looked in my kitchen. And I think that goes for everybody. So my dear, let's talk about the United Way is celebrating a birthday on May 13th. So knowing you and knowing the United Way, because everything you do is fun, what do you have planned for that day?
Well, we have some exciting things planned. You know, we turned 100 last year, 101 on May 14th, and the day before on May 13th, we are going to have a food drive. Focused on protein, so we want to collect everything from peanut butter to tuna to beans, those sorts of things. And it's going to be at the United Way parking lot from 11 to 2. And the first 101 individuals are going to get a surprise.
A gift?
Yes, they're going to get a gift. So make sure that you're one of the first 101 individuals. And the hope is that we will gather enough food to distribute out to 101 families. And the food will go out to our food bank partners in Pierce County.
I love that. Donna, can you help us understand why it's a protein food drive and not just a whatever you have, bring it in?
Well, for a lot of the food banks, those are the toughest items to get. And we all know how important protein is in our diets, and we want to make sure that families have access to healthy foods. And so this is, one of the greatest needs for food banks, and we want to collect as much as we can. So encourage everybody to gather up protein and drop it off at the United Way parking lot on May 13th.
That's a Friday from 11 to 2 on your lunch hour.
Yes.
Just zoom in.
Right.
And you'll get a gift and you'll help the world.
Start collecting now.
It's a win-win.
Right, exactly.
Donna, as we sit here, and it's been almost 3 years that we've been in this pandemic, and now we are still watching science do what it does. What are some of your reflections on what you think about the United Way of yesterday, maybe the United Way of 2 years ago, the United Way today, and also into the future?
Yeah, I was thinking about this this morning. United Way is kind of like a house. It's got a solid foundation, and things change over the years. You move the furniture around, you get new furniture, you might take down a wall or two. But, we've been around for 100 years, and I think of us as a great inviter. We're that convener, that catalyst in the community, and that's the kind of the beauty and the magic of United Way, is that we can bring together all of these different sectors to really tackle some of the tough issues that people care about in our community, and we've been doing that since day one.
Yes.
And so that's been the constant of United Way, and I think the problems are, continuing to be just so much more complex. We're focused on lifting 15,000 households out of poverty by 2028. Right now, with the investments and the support of our donors, we're at 6,300 families that are moving to self-sufficiency. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that needs to be done and that can be done. But the constant is that we know that we need partnerships in the community to make it happen.
Absolutely. I love it when I get to ask you about Alice, because your eyes light up like they're doing right now. So can you tell us, coming out of the pandemic, what impact do you see upon Alice in our community? And would you also explain once again for our viewers what Alice means?
So Alice is a United Way acronym: Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. So these are the families that are just above poverty level, but they can't make ends meet. They're struggling. They may be working 1 or 2 jobs, and the pandemic really impacted those Alice families. And a lot of those Alice individuals were the ones that were out there on the front lines,
yes,
working. And finding child care, transportation, all of those things that were difficult before the pandemic continued to be a challenge. And we've got 32% of Pierce County households are Alice.
Wow.
And I would imagine once we get the new data that number's probably going to grow. So while poverty may be going down in the county, the number of Alice families is increasing, and the pandemic didn't help at all.
No. So advocacy is such an important part of what you do. Recently, I had heard a number, 79,000 people last year used South Sound 211, which that is incredible when you think about that number of people. So when you think about advocating on behalf of those Alice families, share with us some of the things that the United Way does the best.
So, to me, I feel like we get up every day and we're advocating. We're
Yes.
that voice for those Alice families. And we spend a lot of time with local, our local elected officials, our legislators. This past legislative session, we're always advocating for 211, making sure that there's the support there so that someone can pick up the phone and dial 211.
Yes.
In fact, Senator Noble's, the diaper, passage, because diapers are expensive.
They are.
Right? And so we supported that. Things like, making sure that families have access to food. Affordable housing obviously is a huge issue, and so we're constantly working with our local partners to figure out what can United Way do to lift up the voice of those that are struggling to find housing and keeping a roof over their head.
And housing is just such a huge issue.
Right, and childcare as well.
Yes,
always quality childcare.
Absolutely. Can you give us an update as we talk about just helping people on the guaranteed income demonstration project? We call it GRIT. I love it. Tell us what it is and tell us how it's going, and perhaps when can we meet one of the families?
So our Guaranteed Income Initiative, it's a partnership with the city of Tacoma, and it's part of this national effort, this Mayor's Guaranteed Income Initiative. And so we kicked it off in December. We have 110 families that are going to receive $500 a month for 12 months. And during that time, a lot of it is collecting information and stories. We're working with the University of Pennsylvania, their Guaranteed Income Research Center. They're collecting a lot of data. This is a huge research project.
Yes.
It's looking at the efficacy of guaranteed income initiatives. And it's unconditional resources to a family that can help them put food on the table. Some families have used it for tutoring. To provide tutoring for their children.
Oh, I love that.
And so it's those things that sometimes we all take for granted, but families that are struggling, this gives them a chance to breathe.
Yes, it does.
And to pause and to do some things that maybe they couldn't do when they're trying to worry every day, about everyday things like, how do they get to work? or
Price of gas.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, the price
So
of gas.
when I sit here and think about, I know that our beloved Mayor Woodards had a hand in this. I interviewed both of you about this. Donna, how on earth did these people get picked? Because at the time that this came out, we were not open as we are now in terms of the virus. We were still sheltering in place. So how on earth, I mean, you must have had hundreds of applications.
Yeah, we did. We had 2,000.
Oh my
2,000
gosh.
applications for 110 slots. They were randomly selected. In fact, we don't know who those 110 families are. There's only two people that know who those families are in addition to the research center. But they were randomly selected. But what it said to us, you've got 2,000 people filling out an application. So you know the need is there. And 110 families were selected out of four zip codes in Tacoma that were the households were Alice families, where there was a high number of Alice households. We also used information from the City of Tacoma's Health Equity Index as well. So taking all of that information, 110 people were selected. They went through an orientation, onboarding type of a process so that they knew what was involved, but it was money that they could use any way that they saw fit to take care of themselves and their families. And it was single head of households with children.
You've nailed everything. So my last question before we have to say goodbye is, how will you measure success in this program?
Measuring the success, that is a really good question, because a lot of the data that we will get, we won't know for a year after it's done. So, part of the success is, have we been able to help change the narrative in terms of, what it's like for people that struggle? Poverty is not a personal failure. It's a systems failure.
It is.
And so can we change that narrative? Can we change policy so that policies are working for individuals and not against families that are really, looking for a hand up and not a hand out?
That's right. That's right. And I remember when this first came out, we were still in also the second pandemic, as my friend Pam Duncan used to say, and that is Black Lives Matter. So when you talk about a hand up, there's also that sense of equity and justice that is going on. $500 a month extra is enormous. And I can imagine just the sleep and the lack of stress that these people are feeling now as we start to come out of this, we start to get back into our workplaces and our children are back in school. That really is a leg up for our individuals in that GRIP program.
Yes.
Donna, you always bring such good news in the sense of who you're helping, how many you're helping. The United Way didn't miss a beat during this pandemic. They just kept going. So a huge thank you to you and your team for all that you do, and also a big happy birthday on Friday the 13th because of May 14th. Donna, thank you so much for being here today.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. We have much more to come. We're going to play some musical chairs, and then Tawana Nobles will be in the house. Don't go away. We'll be right back.